Hi there, this is Matt with State of Flux here with my top 10 and 5 worst movies of 2022. And I gotta say, 2022 was a really good year for cinema. I really enjoyed a lot of what I saw. There were some clunkers and some pretty big disappointments. We'll touch on those shortly. But by and large, what I saw this year was really fun, really exciting, and a lot of creativity, especially in the front half of the year. Usually the back half, the Oscar season stuff, is where the real kind of glory comes. But I thought a lot of the really good movies came out in like March, April, which is kind of a nice little switch. That said, I think it's time for us to tackle the top 10 and 5 worst. And let's get the worst out of the way. They were, I don't like negativity, but these movies do need to be talked about on some level. Now, I didn't include films. There are certainly worse movies on my bottom 5 list. But I didn't want to attack like the small indie films because I don't necessarily think that's fair. Some of them are intentionally campy and know what kind of movie they are, such as films like The Killing Tree. Or some just have a decent idea but at such a low budget they just can't execute the type of movie that they are trying to do, and that's where their movie kind of falls apart. That's films like The Requiem, which is a shark movie that you can see, I believe, on Hulu, I want to say. But the ones that I'm going to include are like disappointments more than anything. Some I had little faith in just to begin with, but others, as you will see, had potential and should be better. The first on this list is Thor, Love and Thunder. Now, I don't think Thor, Love and Thunder is a bad movie. I want to preface this. It's definitely not a bad movie. It is just a shocking disappointment. That movie should be better, and it's not. And I think it's because directorial reins were not like loosed on that film. The director seemed to be given free rein to be as wacky as he wanted to be for a story that's incredibly serious. Now, Taika Waititi is an Oscar-winning filmmaker who made a very serious movie about World War II and the Holocaust and the persecution of Jews through the lens of a young Nazi. And while that movie was really funny, when it needed to be serious, it was incredibly serious. It got me completely emotionally wrapped up in how serious it was, and therefore became a really effective movie. The comedy aided in what was trying to be said. He captured us with the comedy and then sent us messages along the way through the drama in between. And that's what Thor, Love and Thunder should have been. It is a movie about a man who is an extreme atheist that's trying to devoutly disprove the existence of gods by going around and slaughtering people, proving a point, yet also being and engaging in murder to do so, which is a serious topic. And like, Christian Bale did a great job. He's not the problem. The performance was good. And then the other half of that film is about a woman coming to terms with her own mortality. And you're telling a really serious story about cancer. All the while, Thor's bumbling about. And it's so funny it becomes not funny. You lose any kind of message that you're trying to send, and that movie should have been better. I maintain it to this day. There's a great movie to be told with that story. This movie did not find it, and I'm sure some of that stuff is on the cutting room floor. You can make this into a great movie. They elected not to. Much in the same way of a film like Blonde. Thor, Love and Thunder isn't a bad movie. It's just a movie that needed to be better than it was. And I don't know why it was as not successful at telling the story as it was supposed to be. Okay, number 4 is Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Now this one could have been due to hype, but I was told this was kind of like a clue or scream for the Gen Z era, and to some extent it is, but that's also second guessing the sensibilities of Gen Z. I think this Gen Z is much better than they're depicted in this satire of the Gen Z generation. And you can watch my whole review on this film, and I encourage you to do so, to where I get a little more into the minutiae of why I didn't like it. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to one scene where they really kind of dissect the different talking points of the Gen Z era using a ton of buzzwords and stuff like that. And as they're hurling them around, the message that's very easy to walk away from that movie is that the Gen Z people are not to be taken serious, and all this stuff that is serious that they are talking about is painted in a light that the comedy doesn't land as well as it should. It looks like we're pointing and laughing at them for being the way they are, and I think that movie is more harmful than anybody is necessarily acknowledging. And I don't think it's going to be necessarily fondly remembered 5-10 years from now. I think this one's going to age very poorly. Alright, number 3, we have Moonfall. Moonfall is Roland Emmerich's latest dud. He has a string of them. This one is just kind of rehashing a lot of what he's done before. Had this been a movie about the moon falling, and oh my gosh, I think that's what everybody wanted it to be, and wanted to be silly dumb in that sense, but the direction this ultimately goes with the human element, and I guess that's all I'll say about it, and AI and stuff like that. The movie goes off the rails in a completely unappealing way, unengaging way, and even the action, which is few and far between for long chunks of the movie, is stuff you have already seen in the past, so it's not necessarily engaging even on that front. Moonfall, I did not necessarily expect to like, but I thought that there could have been a nugget of fun in that film in like a Deep Blue Sea kind of style. We did not get that film. Moving on to number 2, Halloween Ends. Boy, did it end with a thud. Like, that was... It ended with a whimper, honestly. Much has been talked about that movie and its lesser qualities. I am not against the movie for taking a new direction and doing essentially a Michael Myers-less version of Halloween. I think that was the more interesting and compelling arc with that film, but then it just loses its traction and becomes a Michael Myers thing, which is what the movie was advertised for and what fans generally wanted. However, it never earned its existence. There's no moment in the film that earns itself, and every time it tries to do so, anytime it almost does justify its existence, it backpedals into the whole Michael Myers of it all. And a movie being made about how a town constructs its own boogeyman, there will always be another Michael Myers, because time and people and society are going to spin ever on, and we will construct our next Michael Myers, is a compelling story in and of itself. But then to thrust Michael Myers in it and have that weird eye-sharing scene where they're seeing into each other's souls is the most asinine thing I've seen in films this year. And yes, I saw Morbius, and yes, I saw when Morbius shot bats out of his hands, which sounds like it should have been the coolest moment in cinematic history, but it wasn't. Because there was no setup or payoff, it just happened. I was perplexed, much as I was during most of Halloween Ends. The first 45 minutes of Halloween Ends plays pretty well. The moment Michael Myers shows up is when the movie falls a fucking part. And there's not many kills in the movie, but the kills that are there are rather bland and boring, except for the heinous attack on the person of color in the film. And I don't necessarily know why it goes out of its way to hate so violently on that one character, but I digress. I shouldn't be spending so much time on the second worst movie of the year when there's time to talk about the worst fucking movie of the year, which is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, this went straight to streaming on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, for the love of God, don't. go and watch the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, even the Michael Bay produced 2003 one. Who would have known that that would have been one of the best calling cards for a horror remake, or whatever you want to call. Back in the day, that movie was not well liked. Looking back on it, I have to admit a fondness for that, seeing the trajectory of this franchise afterwards. This movie is a complete and utter piece of trash. They tried to do the Halloween 2018 requel legacy sequel thing by bringing back the sole survivor of the first movie to exact vengeance, but that's just a ploy to get you to watch it because she's hardly in the movie, and when she is there, she's completely ineffective and not the final girl we were looking for. She is not Laurie Strode, Sidney Prescott, or Heather Langenkamp's Nancy, who doesn't get talked about enough. Nancy Thompson rocks. No. She kind of goes out with a whimper in the film, as the film does as well. Now, there is one moment within the film that I liked. To find out what that one moment is, dive into my review of the film from back in, I want to say it was February, could have been March, when I reviewed that. The movie is awful. Absolutely awful. One that I actively hated while I was watching it, and I haven't hate-watched a movie in quite a while. I think the last time I did that was during the second Venom movie. But there you have it. Those are my 5 worst. We have the disappointing Thor Love and Thunder, the overrated Bodies, 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 the, I don't know why I was expecting anything less, Moonfall, the dud that was Halloween Ends, and the Why Is This Happening to Me Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Moving on to the best of the year. I'm going to give you a couple of honorable mentions. There are 2 excellent volcano documentaries that are out and about right now. One is on Disney+, and that one is called Fire of Love. That is about 2 volcanologists who are in love and have absolutely stunning photography. And they are no longer with us, and this documentary explores kind of what happened with them. But the photography shown throughout the film is stunning. It is just genuinely a beautiful movie. On the other side of the volcano, we have a film called The Volcano, which is on Netflix right now. It is about the, I want to say Wakatobi? I'm not New Zealand, so I don't know how to say the name of the volcano that blew, but it was during a tourist attraction where tourists were actually on the volcano when it actively erupted in a great steam explosion, and this is the survivor's tale. It is a harrowing journey of survival. It is haunting and horrifying and captivating, and you can see the way volcanoes are treated through the 2 different documentaries. The Disney Plus Fire of Love, which I honestly think is going to take at least a nomination, if not Best Documentary at the Academy Awards, frames the volcanoes with reverence and respect and a visual feast for the viewer. As you're seeing wonderful shots of volcanoes in the midst of eruption. And The Volcano on Netflix shows you the terror of what happens when an eruption happens around people. They're both compelling as all can be. And the other one that I want to give a shout out to, even though it didn't make my top 10, just fell right outside of the top 10, is Scream. Or Five Cream, as I like to call it. Scream, I'm a fan of the franchise. I'm a total stan for it. And while that movie made a few creative decisions I did not necessarily agree with, I loved the movie. I watched it 3-4 times so far this year, and I'm looking forward to doing a whole series rewatch before the next movie next year. Do I think the next movie is necessary? No, not at all. But the trailer for it looks good. I liked this movie. It hit me emotionally more than I expected, particularly with The use of the three legacy characters and the fact that the film is a dissection of the legacy sequel, it does so pretty effectively while being a soft reboot / remake of the original Scream and putting to good use some things that never came to fruition within that very first Scream, the things that were cut out of the script or maybe creative decisions that Wes had steered away from at the last second become actualized in this movie, and boy, it hits hard when it does. It's a good movie, it's an effective thriller, a great mystery, one that you can actually sit down and figure out, which you haven't really been able to do since the second Scream movie. 3 and 4 was like they're just plucking characters out of a hat to decide who the killer was. This new Scream, if you're paying attention, you can figure out who's responsible for the murders. Alright, now on to my top 10. In the 10 spot, we have She Said. She Said is a movie about the takedown of Harvey Weinstein and the kickstart of the metoo movement. It is framed around the two writers who broke the story, and with excellent performances by Carey Mulligan, who's going to get probably more awards recognition than not Chloe Zhao, Zoe Kazan, sorry. Zoe Kazan gives a stunning performance, but hers is much more subtle. She was the one that won me over in the film, but the whole film is a very good movie and one that I highly recommend. In the 9 spot, we have Apollo 10.5, A Space Age Childhood. This was a film that came out on Netflix by Richard Linklater, and it is a exploration of the space race shown through a child's eyes and how the moon landing came to be. But really it's a slice of life film about what it was like growing up in Houston, Texas during that time. It's a great film, one of the better coming-of-age stories that I've seen in quite some time, and a lovely use of animation. I've always liked Linklater's animation works, and this one falls in line with the other two. I quite liked that movie and hope it gets nominated for Best Animated Feature. I don't know that it will, but it should. It's quite good. In the number 8 spot, we have another streaming original. This one went to HBO Max. It is The Fallout, starring Jenna Ortega, who I was introduced to late last year when I did a binge watch of the TV show You. I thought she's only in one season, but damn, she was a shining star of that film. And boy, has she emerged in her career this year. Between Scream, who she was a standout in that film, even amongst the legacy characters, X, The Fallout, and Wednesday, this girl has it, man, and those movies really depict her range. She is not playing the same character in any one of those movies. She is very radically different, and The Fallout, I think, is the strongest of them. This is a movie that hits very close to home if you have experienced gun violence in your neighborhood, but it's about the fallout of what happens when an active shooter situation takes hold and you are a survivor among it, and thoughtfully follows a few characters and how they deal with the aftermath of surviving. And it is a compelling film. It's a beautifully acted film. Jenna Ortega, man, I would give her a nomination for that movie. She is great. And it's definitely worth seeing. HBO Max has it. Watch it before HBO Max just randomly takes it off, because they're known to do that lately. In the number 7 spot, now these 7 up are all extraordinary movies, all of which I hope get nominations for the Academy Award to some capacity. I think a lot of them will. I do think a handful of them will be forgotten, but not this one. My number 7 pick is Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. This is probably the most creative movie I've seen in the year 2022. In a year where we were working with the multiverse just coming off of Spider-Man No Way Home and moving into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, the multiverse movie that really hit a home run, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Michelle Yeoh gives a career-stopping performance, like show-stopping performance, not career-stopping, heavens. Show-stopping performance. She is so good, and if she does not get nominated for Best Actress, I will lose my mind. She is so good. The whole cast is good. I hope everybody gets at least Oscar consideration, if not nominations. But for my money, Michelle Yeoh gives genuinely a career high performance and one of the best performances of any movie of the year. She is that good. This film has a creative energy that is funny when it needs to be, compellingly action-packed when it needs to be, with action that lands and is engaging the whole way through. But it's emotional through line that is going to tether you to this film, and it'll make it stick with you for long after those credits have rolled. I highly recommend Everything Everywhere All at Once. Moving on to our number 6 spot, we have Pixar's Turning Red. Why this was the film that Pixar chose not to release in the theater, and I shouldn't say Pixar, it's Disney, chose not to release in the theater is beyond me. I think it's due to cowardice over the fact that this is an allegory for menstruation, and they just didn't want to deal with a public lashing about putting that out into the public zeitgeist, that it's okay to menstruate. But the film is a lovely film. It's funny. It's not as emotional as a Pixar movie should or usually is, but it is exactly as the film should be. It is the type of movie that it knows the type of movie that it is. It speaks to an audience that in a safe way that is smart and elegant, and I loved this movie. Again, it has great creative energy, and shy of a slightly weak third act, the film has stuck with me since I first watched it. I've come back to it a couple times this year. It is a really great movie, and one that I am happy to watch with the kid whenever she is in the mood to watch it. Turning Red is fantastic. Check it out. In the number 5 spot, we have Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Did I expect this would be in the top 5 of my 2022 list? No! I had no idea I was going to love this movie. This movie is perfect, and I really hope, at the very least, it gets a screenplay nomination or something, because this movie is great. It may be, like, animation. I know it's mostly, it's partially animated, so I don't know if it would be eligible, but that's where it would get my vote. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On is so creative and so funny and so heartwarming. I've not seen a movie quite so uplifting in quite some time. The movie sticks with you. You will fall in love with that damn little shell and all of its little shell mates. It's a beautiful film that gets the tears rolling every time. It's so good. Excellent film. Check it out. I'm still awaiting a physical media release. So far, I don't think it's even got one down the pipeline. But check it out on streaming. It is in the buy-rent window. In the number 4 spot, we have The Batman. Now, I did not expect to like this movie half as much as I did, but in a single go, Robert Pattinson not only became my favorite Batman, I think he's in the best movie about Batman. Now, yes, is The Dark Knight a better movie? The Dark Knight is a better movie. But The Dark Knight isn't really about Batman. It is about Harvey Dent. Batman kind of takes the back seat so that the White Knight can take the forefront, and oftentimes Joker overshadows everybody. Not so with The Batman. The Batman is the best movie about Batman that is consistent in its storytelling from front to back, while also being a dissection and complete teardown of all the criticisms that I had with the Joker. Joker, the 2019 film. It was almost as if Matt Reeves saw that film and recognized all the criticisms that film had and was like really perpetuating into the public consciousness, and wrote a film that was that movie's antithesis. And just as it should be, Batman is the opposite of Joker. However, the messaging of this Batman movie is so strong. The scenes in the film, especially towards the end, where Batman is being the beacon of light to the people of Gotham, work so well. The thing that I also loved about the movie is that this is every bit about Batman saving Gotham as it is about Gotham saving Batman. And that is so compelling to me. Batman is teetering on the edge of being a monster and being everything that a movie like Joker was trying to pump out into the world. And how he pivots away from that, and how the third act really turns it all around is brilliant. This is the best use of Batman I've seen in a movie, and the scene of him coming out of the figurative cave holding a torch and allowing the people of Gotham to follow him is my favorite moment in Batman film history. That and the moment when he's lowering the person into the boat is the rescue boat is pure stunning Batman. And this is the first one that gets Batman absolutely 100% right. From performance, from characterization, from visual language of the film, the execution, it's all there, it's all perfect. Batman takes my number 4 spot, but in my number 3 spot we have Steven Spielberg's The Fabelmans. This is a movie that's a soft retelling of Spielberg's young life. How he developed movie magic, and there's quite a bit that has been said already about how this reflects Spielberg at a young age, this time following a young boy whose last name is Fabelman, and his problems at his home life, and how art really kind of shaped his life story. That said, as compelling of a coming-of-age story as that is, and I'll tell you right now, it is quite compelling, what makes this movie work is this is a subtle film. This film is a subtle lesson into the way to make a movie. It never outright tells you until there's a director in the film that speaks directly to the main character. It never really tells you exactly how to make a movie. But it shows you. It's show, don't tell at its finest. This movie explains to you the importance, entirely through visuals, of spectacle that can be brought forth in front of a camera lens. How a camera can document a moment at the exact right time that may not be the most pleasant thing to see, but it's an inarguable truth that is presented, and it's your responsibility to show that to the world, even if it's not a pleasant experience with the aftermath that could follow. It also can showcase how misguided bigotry, or how bigotry can be shown as misguidedly heroic in a sense, in the as well as it can show bigotry as being a buffoon. And all of these things are staples within the visual language of Spielberg's work. And he teaches you how to use a camera throughout the entire film if you're paying attention, right down to how to frame a shot. This is the prime example of how to make a movie without telling you how to make a movie. But you will pick it up through just osmosis from watching it. It's brilliant. I loved it. Moving on to number 2 is Triple R. Triple R is fantastic. It's a film out of India in the Telugu language that you can watch on Netflix here, stateside, streaming. I encourage you to do so. This is the most fun I've had at a movie all year. It is easily the best action movie I've seen in the past 20 years. It has the best musical numbers I've seen in any movie in quite some time, hands down. And I'm sure that Natu Natu song is going to get nominated for Best Original Song come Oscar time. When the movie pivots into being a romantic comedy, it is the best romantic comedy. And when it pivots into being an emotional, character-driven drama, it is an emotional, character-driven drama that you are completely and totally and wholly invested in. The meeting of the two main characters is one of the greatest meetings I've seen between two characters in any movie that I can think of. This is cinema cinema at its finest. Triple R, I cannot sing the praises enough. is one of the best movies of the year, second only to another little Netflix film called Glass Onion, the sequel, continuation, I guess, continuation rather, of Knives Out, following the the Benoit Blanc character. Glass Onion is a mystery that is even more compelling than Knives Out, which was my favorite original concept film of 2019. It's a smarter mystery, it's a funnier movie with great use of camera, really gripping characters. Some of them are completely cartoonish, but in a very realistic sense. So realistic that it's creating like a Twitter frenzy right now, because people are pointing fingers at who each person actually is, and it all just happens to be circumstantial, because back when this was written that wasn't necessarily the case. I digress. The mystery of the film is fantastic, and it works on multiple viewings. Even if you know all the twists and turns, they get better upon a second watch, because you can see how all of the information for you is there, right up at front and center. My goodness, this was a brilliant, brilliant movie. So, my top 10 movies, one more time in descending order. Number 1, Glass Onion. Number 2, Triple R. Number 3, The Fabelmans. Number 4, The Batman. Number 5, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. Number 6, we have Turning Red. Number 7, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Number 8, The Fallout. Number 9, Apollo 10.5, A Space Age Childhood. And number 10, She Said. Boy, this was a good year for cinema, and I didn't even see all the movies I wanted to see. I still need to see The Banshees of Inisherin, I still need to see Smile, I still need to see Tar, I still need to see The Menu. These are movies that very easily could make my list. So oftentimes on the day that the Oscars are going to hit, I give you my actual top 5 movies of the year, if anything changes. But these top 5 are super strong movies. I don't know if we're going to be able to unearth any of them, but I said the same thing kind of last year, and I got a brand new number 1 spot by Oscar night. So we'll see where we come at you with that. Stay tuned for an update on my channel for some things that I'm going to be doing that are kind of exciting in 2023, and let me know what your top movies and worst movies of 2022 are. Thanks for watching, like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Peace.